Mike, how are we doing?
Doing okay. How are we doing? How are you doing? How was your weekend?
Good. Busy. Summer is on the horizon. So I thought things would slow down in the summer. I don't know why I haven't learned that lesson. And things are only ramping up with camps and summer league. And so here we go.
Yeah, we're in the thick of it too. And being down south, the summer has definitely got to jump. The tournament lacrosse schedule has been fully, like, lock, stock, and barrel, fully booked and fully baked. So still on the road, hopefully getting off the road next week and some downtime. And I'd like to get back on the golf course a little bit.
Same. I did not get on the golf course this weekend. And trying to figure out when that's going to happen again.
Yeah.
And I know by the time this episode releases, it'll be old news, but can we talk about the NBA Finals this past weekend? Holy guacamole.
Unbelievable. As I mentioned, New Yorker, so pretty interesting, wild to see the Knicks win, and always good to watch New York City come together like it did. The stars were definitely out, and just a wonderful performance. Like, just the drama, being down, coming back pretty much in every game. Pretty awesome to see. NHL playoffs as well. Carolina won last night, and they closed it out to win the cup. So congratulations to them. College baseball World Series in full swing as well.
Yeah, I love sports. I love sports, which makes me even more excited for our guests today. Welcome back to Sideline Ascent. I'm Taryn Sheehan, former Division I coach, professor, mom, and rec league summer coach. Let's go.
Let's go. And I'm Mike Marich, former athletic director, coach, mentor, and somebody who believes the people shaping athletes' lives deserve real support too.
Every week, we're bringing you the mentors you wish you had.
The lessons we wish somebody had poured into us, real conversations that go far beyond X's and O's, with mentorship that helps you grow, lead, and truly thrive.
Wherever you are, on the court, on the track, on the field, or in the classroom, or even if you're just figuring it out as you go, this space is built for you.
Sideline Ascent is brought to you by Mindset Curated at mindsetcurated.com and Morgan Athletics at morganathletics.com. Two organizations committed to elevating coaches and the athletes they serve.
And we are so excited to be joined today by Maren Walseth. Maren is a former Division I women's basketball coach who spent 15 years on the sideline before pivoting to professional coaching and television analysis. She played at Penn State, earned all-conference honors, competed in the 2000 NCAA Final Four, and played professional basketball in the WNBA and France's top professional basketball league. Her coaching career spanned 10 years as an assistant and 5 years as a head coach at the Division I level. Since stepping away from the sideline, she has built a performance coaching practice specifically designed for collegiate sports coaches called Elevating Leaders. Maren, welcome to Sideline Ascent, and I am so excited to talk to you, especially coming off of the NBA Finals, which was probably one of the most epic NBA Finals we've seen in a long time.
Happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me. We can talk Knicks. I don't have any insight, but they were sure fun to watch. Absolutely.
Talk about fun to watch. I had a friend ask me about, because I'm from New York, and he said, what's it like? I said, the city is a different place when the Knicks are going and going well. They truly do unite the city. It is a basketball town. One of the only times I feel jealous about not being back there. So, yeah, kudos to them. Great run. I mean, just an incredible playoff, not just the final, but a playoff run for them. So that was pretty awesome.
I feel like we always were like, okay, this is the one that they're not going to be able to pull it out. Okay,
Right.
Now this is the one. Okay, now this is the moment. And even in the second to last game, I gave up. I was like down 29 at half. Like, I know they're going to come back. I don't know if they can actually get over the hump.
Right.
And I went to bed.
Yeah, me
in
too.
Philadelphia. I'm not necessarily a full-blown Knicks fan. So I went to bed, and then I was happy to watch all the social media replays and all the commentary the next day, but I gave up too.
Yeah, awesome. I did too. I fell asleep.
So in your professional opinion, how much is that is skill and how much is that just coaching those guys up in those moments? Just out of curiosity, what do you think?
I think it's a lot of the emotional component. Mm-hmm. I mean, when you're in the NBA Finals or the Super Bowl or the NHL Finals, right? Like the Stanley Cup, those people have the skill. There's not a person on the roster that does not have the skill, but it's the maturity or maybe more the regulation of your emotions to be able to handle the given moment.
Yeah.
And I think, my own personal opinion, there was some immaturity and lack of handling the big moment for the Spurs. Let's give the Knicks all the credit. They took advantage, but I think that was the difference that at least I saw, was whether it was thinking you're a little too big for yourself, you've got it under control, taking your foot off the pedal. I mean, whatever you want to call it, that's what I saw. Like the difference in the emotional managing of the moment individually as players and certainly as coaches.
Yeah.
Right. And that's coaching, right? That's coaching. Really, it's the premise of this podcast. It's not always X's and O's. It's about how do you as a coach manage those emotions when you're literally, I think in that last game, it was just desperation, that last 5 minutes on both sides of like, how do you control those emotions? Like the number of missed free throws, like those guys can hit 90% of their free throws, but it's just, like you said, how do you handle those emotions? And there's a lot of skill and that's the art of coaching is getting your guys through those times.
And like staying in the moment, right? Like you can miss a foul shot, it happens. And then what happens next? It's, not compounding the issue. It's being able to flush it or snap out of it, whatever your culture's phrase for that is, and go do the next thing. And I think that's where I saw like the Jalen Brunsons just being so calm and composed. And there was emotion involved, but it was never like outside of character. It was, I'm in control of myself. Down 29 or taking a massive three over the largest person on the planet.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny. I was coaching this weekend. I was coaching sixth graders for lacrosse, and we use Ted Lasso talk a lot, like be a goldfish to snap out of it. It's just resonating with them really well. Like, but control what you can control, and then honestly moving on to the next play. Like, don't palms up, just flush that play. What do we have to learn from it, and then bear down and get after it. So I love that framing that you mentioned about Brunson, like staying in his moment. Yeah, he's an emotional player, but he never really, really got over the edge. And that was controlling his emotions, which is so key to that as well.
So on that note, take us back to the beginning. You played at NCAA in the Final Four. You understand that emotion, not only as a coach, but as a player. Played in the WNBA, played pro in France. So at what point did you realize like you wanted to be a coach and be that person there for your players?
I played at Penn State, like you said, and I had a wonderful experience athletically, academically, socially. I thrived in a big environment, yet a small town that everybody was for Penn State in a sports community. That worked for me. I realized that's not everybody's, cup of tea, but I knew that was going to work for me. And I think because of the enjoyment, yes, the success, but the enjoyment of it, I felt a deep obligation to do that and open those doors for others. And nobody put it on me. Nobody told me this is what you had to do. I actually thought I had to go have a real career, do something else and then become a coach. I had no idea what that something else was supposed to be, but that was in my mind, I guess, as a 18 to 22-year-old, kind of how this went. I wanted to play as long as I could and then do something and then be a coach. And so when I think back to the people, yes, it was the coaches, but it was the academic advisors, my teammates, my classmates, those sorts of things, all of it. I was like, I can provide, I want to provide this platform, open these doors and maybe additional doors or different doors or better doors for people like me, kids like me who like to work hard, who love the sport, do things the right way. Like I felt a calling, an obligation to be in that platform.
That's awesome. So you went from, assistant coach to head coach, and now you're, performance coach, a bunch of different roles, player as well, all in the same world. Was there a transition that was the easiest or one that was maybe the most challenging for you in any of those?
Maybe the most challenging is what you didn't say, being a business owner.
Yeah.
I think that was probably going from one bucket to a completely different bucket.
Yeah.
There's some carryover from a player to an assistant coach or maybe it's an operations role or a player development role, whatever that is. if you don't know what you're doing, you can be like, well, I was on the other side, so I think this would be a logical attempt.
Yeah.
And then you go from the sports industry, which I knew on the inside as a part of it, but maybe appreciate it more being on the outside or on like the shoulder of it, of how siloed college athletics is. Some of it is because of the pace of it. Some of it is because of the scrutiny that it's under, where it is in our society. But like, you don't have time to talk to your neighbor. So you have no idea what they're doing, how they're doing it. Unless you need somebody to mow your lawn, like then you're like, hey, can you or you're your kid, like you help me out. I'm out next week. So I think the transition was going from being part of the team and hiring that team and recruiting those players and managing those people to being the one with all the ideas. And now, yes, you're still building a team and you're pulling people in, but you're running the show. And to me, that was probably the biggest adjustment, or where I felt like the most out of water. Not saying I had it all put together as a head coach. Don't get me wrong, but I think I went from a very comfortable environment of coaching and being in college athletics to this, like, okay, this is where I want to be, and how do I build it?
Yeah, I think I can definitely relate to that. Doing what we're doing now, doing what I'm doing now too. Yeah, figuring out as we go, as we like to say.
Yeah, I think so many assistant coaches thrive, and they just, they're always looking to like be in that head coach chair, and then they get there and it's a challenge. So like for you, when was that moment that you're like, this isn't what I thought it was? Was it as an assistant or maybe more as a head coach of like, this is not, I thought it would be easier in this situation, but it's a lot harder than I realized.
That moment, nothing really took me back in the sense of like, oh my, I have no idea what I'm doing. But because of the environment as an assistant that I grew up in, and I've been very open with my boss about this, one thing I was not exposed to was a budget. As an assistant, I had my hand in a lot. I was given a lot of responsibility. I was challenged to grow, and by nobody's fault, I got a head job, and they're like, and here's the budget. How does it look? I'm like, well, I'm not sure how it looks. Let me take that back and let me work on that for a minute. That was one thing that I didn't have experience in. I think a big challenge or a big adjustment is how little you actually get done in a day. As an assistant, you walk into the office and you might have 10 tasks that need to be done. And most days, you can bang them out, you can get through them, you can have the conversations, you can devise it, whatnot. As a head coach, I found, and I know people that I work with and others, that list, if you get through 3 things that was on the list, not to say you don't accomplish things, but that you intend on doing on any given day, is much smaller. That capacity and that mental shift took me some time, and I think takes a lot of head coaches more time than they anticipated or than they're willing to acknowledge, in terms of you get a lot done, but a lot more people want your time, want your answers. You need to ask 16 questions to get those answers to answer the one question that they had. So that was one thing that took me some time. And I know, like I said, that the folks that I work with, it's dialing back that expectation of themselves a bit, I think.
Yeah. Is that something you would think more assistant coaches need to do a better job of preparing themselves? Like, is there a way they can prepare themselves for that? Or is that just kind of comes with the territory and you figure it out as you go?
I think it comes with the territory, and I think there's an element of adjusting your expectations, which are very hard for coaches and very hard for competitors, because innately we're like, oh, well, now I'm asking less of myself. I'm not going to win. I'm not going to succeed. This isn't how I've been brought up in my sport of faster, harder, longer, make one more phone call, do one more sprint, watch one more game of prep, and dialing it back and adjusting. I like the word adjusting. I like pivoting as opposed to necessarily changing or lowering. I think words and words are very, very important, and you can be very intentional with your words. But I think pivoting that expectation is helpful. And some people can do it relatively quickly. And there are people that I'm like, we're still working on that. And you've had now for 1.5 years. Let's save yourself some gray hairs and some angst, by pivoting what is realistic today and then maybe adding one.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. That to-do list always, speaking as a head coach, but also then as an AD, that to-do list, you walk in thinking you're going to get one thing done and it's still on the list because 9 other things popped up. Totally relatable in both roles. I'd love to explore a little bit about sort of coaching from maybe as you took over as head coach, or your last time coaching compared to your first time coaching, things that had changed with you, your philosophies, or what was the biggest difference with you and your coaching from year one to the last year you were coaching, if any?
The stress level.
Yeah.
And maybe the type of stress.
Yeah.
When you first get a head job, I think there's a lot of excitement. Most people are very eager.
Yeah.
They know they have an uphill battle. Let's be honest, 95% of jobs become open because it didn't go well the year before. Very few people walk into a conference championship level, high culture, everything's running smoothly operation. And now even those operations, those positions, the transfer portal has gutted them. And so it's no longer that.
Right.
So I think there's a understanding, even if it's nonverbal, you walk into a job, you got to work. There's stress, you got to work. That just comes with the new job territory. And I think as you progress, there are self-expectations, there's self-pressure, there's clearly societal, fan base, media base, outside pressure. And then even if your administration doesn't flat out, some administrators do flat out put the pressure on you verbally.
Mm-hmm.
Some don't.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I think as competitors, we all know. And so then maybe comes from us, but it comes from them, or we have shifted the lens to, and there's this huge pressure to win or to raise this amount of money or to retain this many kids or whatever it is, from the administration that you put on yourself because you want to do well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's coaches want to succeed. Coaches are like, oh, I hope to get maybe 500 and, be okay this year. So that's who we are as competitors and as leaders. So I think the type of pressure and where it's coming from changes. And that was certainly something that I experienced. The fun pressure versus the almost crippling or just really thick pressure.
Yeah. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. That's so valuable. I felt it myself. The pressure to compete, the pressure never talked about within the administration when I was in high school. But I definitely felt it. I wanted to be the best version of ourselves, and that carries a lot of weight with it.
Yeah, I don't think any of us get into coaching without the thrill of wanting to win, right? I think when you're on the other side of it, you don't realize how much harder it is because now you have no control. You're like, did I prepare them enough? Did I do the right things? Everybody's going to have an opinion, mom, dad, grandma, auntie in the stands and your boss. And so I think now with social media and with the pressure and expectations, it's getting even higher and getting even louder. How are you pivoting a little bit, but how are you helping coaches to navigate that? Because I worry we're losing a lot of really good coaches that are ultimately great mentors, great leaders of young people because the expectations have also become unrealistic.
Yeah.
Well, I think you bring up kind of two pieces there, that there are external pressures, right or wrong. We accept that as part of the industry. And then kind of going back to what we were talking about with the Knicks, being able to regulate yourself. I know I've done it both as a coach, as a business owner. I see it in folks that I work with, almost strangling the life out of the program because they're trying so hard. And I think that line is getting thinner and thinner with the generation today. And that's not a knock on the generation, but whether it's coaches on your staff or athletes that you're working with, you have to know when enough is enough. And that you come to that in how I work with folks is putting in consistent work. You know what your standard is, you know what your program standard is, you know what needs to be done. And when you get there, acknowledging you've gotten there and moving on. And I think that worrisome, that competitiveness, that stress well, somebody else is maybe doing more. I feel that's when a lot of individuals self-sabotage or strangle their program or strangle themselves and almost turn into people that they don't recognize, they don't want to be. Their staff is a little bit more, standoffish. That's not, I don't want to sit in that staff meeting anymore. And now they are all of a sudden nowhere to be found. And it's not always them. Sometimes it's the leader. How are you showing up? And we talk a lot about breathing life into the program versus strangling the program. Whether you just took it over, you're in a contract extension year, it looks different, but it's the same thing.
Right.
And I think that's a bit of managing yourself. Again, that emotional component, you could still get fired. But you've enjoyed that experience. You've provided a better experience for those around you, those that you are leading, both student athletes and coaches, versus the turning into somebody that you're not proud of, that your staff's not proud of, that your players hit the portal immediately, because that's not at all who they worked with at the beginning of the season or during the recruiting process.
Yeah.
I mean, so important to talk about emotional regulation as the head coach, as the leader, for everybody to see that, your staff, your players. I think we just saw Emma Hayes talk about that with the U.S. women's team losing to Brazil in a very hostile environment when the expectations and the lights are the brightest. And we see, I mean, we've all seen where people have become head coaches and you kind of joke like, oh, that's going to make that person crazy. And so it's a real skill to be able to make sure you're continuing to coach to your values. And being true to your values, that they're showing up the way you really want them to be, because it's really hard to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
There was one moment when I was a head coach, and what sticks out to me was I remember something happened. I wanted to lose my mind. It was a practice. I wanted to lose my mind. It could have been big, it could have been little, I don't remember, but I wanted to lose my mind. And I turned around, I took a couple steps away, took a couple deep breaths, said a little prayer, put myself in a different mind space, and walked back to the circle. And one of our assistants said, "Did you just collect yourself?" And I was like, "I sure did. I'm really proud of you, Maren." And I was like, yeah, but those are the moments that you're working on yourself.
Right.
Show up for that next play, that next rep, that next part of the drill, that particular athlete, and then approaching that athlete, that situation from an empowering, corrective, this is what we need, instructional perspective, rather than just losing it. And gosh knows where that could go for the individual, the team, you as the coach. But let's also not act like you can't be emotional. Like, you most certainly can be emotional and get excited. And I mean, that was part of me. I was a very passionate, I high-fived, I clapped. I showed a lot of excitement.
That's sports.
And then I had to work really hard to control myself when I wanted to lose.
Yeah.
Because your athletes will remember how you make them feel.
Right.
But at the same point, too, losing your mind like in a Disney movie and berating someone isn't always the right way. And we glamorize that. I would say a little bit more maybe with men coaches than we do with women's coaches, but we glamorize that as that's the way to get your point across. But it's not always. Like, sometimes that will just destroy your players, destroy your culture. And so how do we show our athletes what it really means to be passionate and really invested in what we're doing, but also building them up rather than tearing them down?
Yeah.
I think a lot of that is the response versus the reaction. And that's another thing I talk with coaches about with regularity. Is was that a response? Were you proud of your response, or was that a reaction? What do you need to have a response rather than a reaction? And you don't always have time to take 3 steps backwards, turn around, say a prayer, wipe your brow. I mean, we know that you don't have time for that, but you can pause, hold your breath for 3 seconds, think, look off, come back. There are ways to respond rather than react.
Yeah, absolutely.
To referees too, even though they don't usually get this much grace from most coaches.
Probably not. Yeah. I'd love to hear about your work. I mean, right now you're working with coaches. Can you talk to us a little bit about it and how, the journey for that, the origin story for that?
Yeah. So that last year as a head coach at North Dakota State, I had 2 interactions with 2 performance executive coaches that were working with our athletic department. As a head coach, I had an opportunity, and they were both very in different ways and operated in, different methods and came at me or came to me in different ways. Very, very impactful. When you talk about like responding and not reacting and taking a breath, I felt that I walked out of those coaching sessions not having been told what to do, but feeling moved and pulled to know exactly what to do. And it was me figuring it out through powerful questions, intentional thoughts, let's strip away some emotions, guidance, coaching.
Sure.
That got me to it. And then, of course, I acted almost immediately because it was my idea rather than hearing it from somebody else. So being able to provide that space for coaches, the runway's short, the stress is high, there's a lot of reaction happening versus the response. Creating that space for the clients that I work with, the coaches, the assistant coaches, the head coaches, to collect their thoughts, sort their feelings, and make sustainable decisions, right? Like it's not all about the quick fix. Sometimes it's let's breathe for a minute, let's talk this through. How do we want to approach? What's the main thing you want that person to get out of the conversation? Let's backtrack. How do we set it up and strip away the emotion?
Awesome. Super helpful.
Yeah.
So with your work, with the coaches that you mentioned while you were at North Dakota State, did you work on finding your values and standards and work through those types of things? And if so, would you share them with us as far as what your core values were as a coach?
Definitely had established the core values of our program right from the beginning.
Nice.
And I will admit that they were definitely plastered on the back of bathroom stalls and talked about periodically. And that was part of the pace of the environment and so much happening, good, bad, and otherwise, that I don't know that we did a great job of holding true to those values, all the time. In the work that I have done, I guess I have shifted a bit to standards and how you operate to the standards of the program, the standards, the expectations. I like the word standards.
Yeah.
Whether you're having a good day or a not so good day, operating to your standards, not necessarily your feelings. And it was through the coaches that I worked with while at NDSU, and then my own coaching and being a coachee and receiving a lot of coaching while building a business that some of those standards of realistic positivity. Like I am an optimistic person, but let's be realistic about it. Like it's not always going to go my way, but I can choose to have a realistic, positive approach, to my days. I love the phrase, be an active participant in your own life. Many people say that and get off the sideline, get in the game. Many people have something similar. I would say that's one of Elevating Leaders' core values, one of my core values. And that came when I was in college, and I found myself getting asked to do a lot. And some of it was by coaches, by people above me, and others were by like my friends. And I remember being like, can't you record that show? Why do I have to? Be an active participant in your own life? And that's, that's kind of how that for me came about. It's a bit long for a core value of a basketball program, but
Sure.
But it's a good piece to come back to as coaches, as people that I work with. How do you? I'm hearing a lot of complaining right now. I'm hearing a lot of other people. We're in this coaching session. We can only work on you. What can you do? Be an active participant in your own life? What is the next most impactful decision, choice, action that you can take? Like it's about you right now. That's why we're here. So I find that as being one of the standards that I like to operate from. Another is aggressive patience. Like those are very contradicting words, but we can't just sit back and like hope it all happens.
Right.
But again, going back to that strangling your program, you can easily be so aggressive that you miss, that you miss an opportunity. you are too harsh, you shoot down a potential connection. So it's that balancing of aggressively taking action, but also being patient in it might not, like in our coaching sessions and being a business owner and elevating leaders, there's no shot clock. There's no 10-second backcourt. There's no 5-second out of bounds. Like, this is a long game, kids. This is a very, very, very long game. And so that aggressive patience is another one of those values, those standards that comes back to me every single day.
So powerful. I love that. I wrote that down. I'm having that one. I might put that on my little board right here. I got my North Stars. I love that.
Right, we all have, they're different, whether they're core values, North Stars. The important part is that there is something guiding you, that we are answering internally, we are filtering, we're using a lens in our decision-making and how we show up and how we have conversation. That it's not just willy-nilly, one day I'm here, one day I'm there. That's where progress is not made.
Yeah, agreed.
And I think part of core values is also knowing like what you're not willing to negotiate. I use like, what's your non-negotiables? And I think coaches need to, at a certain point, really understand like, what are you at a point not willing to negotiate anymore in order to do your job effectively? So like, how do you think as head coaches, they can better determine what those are and understand what they're willing to compromise or not compromise because of the pressure of the position that they're in?
I think we would all, and everybody listening has heard, what you tolerate becomes your culture. You know, what you're willing to tolerate then becomes your culture. So in your own home, if you're willing to tolerate everybody in the house wearing their shoes, now you have dirty floors and you have to vacuum more. Doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It just is what you tolerate then becomes, you know, what your culture is. On a team, I think the challenge is bringing so many people, like a lacrosse team, like 50 plus people. Like that's a lot of lenses. That's a lot of experiences. That's a lot of 18 to 22 years of a lot of people coming in, not stuck in their ways, but with habits and disciplines. Like that's a lot coming in. And so I think one mistake many coaches make are having too many non-negotiables. And now they become rules, and all of us as competitors want to push the limit. That's maybe the other side of the sword, right? Like you want the competitive, you want the feisty, but then we're always going to ask questions. We're always going to push. We're always going to want a little bit more. And so when there's too many, that's where the rebellion of young people come in. And I always think about like the kid that's like told, don't step off the kitchen mat. Don't step off the kitchen mat. And as soon as you turn around, what do? Toes go right onto the hardwood immediately, right? Like that's phrasing. That's how it's presented. But that's just one of the rules, one of the things in that little kid's house versus having 2 or 3. Is it how you treat people? Is it simply respect and not lying? Like those can go a long way in your non-negotiables. Is it not settling for anything less than your best that day? It doesn't mean you have to be perfect, but today you're giving your all. And when your all is tapped out, I acknowledge it, you acknowledge it, we'll move on. Like that's okay. I see often coaches coming up with too many, and then it's hard for everybody to administer. Then they feel like rules, and now we're copying versus empowering, leading, directing young people. I think the approach can be very, very different.
Yeah. Are there other patterns that you're seeing? I mean, that's such a powerful one. It was, I had a mentor that told me a little bit about standards versus non-negotiables and rules versus standards. So I'm very much interested in that, and it was super powerful for me to move on as a coach. But what about other things that you're seeing and that you're working with coaches on now? Are there other patterns that are emerging? What are the big ticket items that you're working with coaches on now that maybe might be helpful for our listeners?
In addition to the coaching component of elevating leaders, I do run an assistant coach search firm supporting head coaches in the women's basketball space hire. And so I think the best example for that is hiring with intention and hiring with alignment, not out of emotion. Let's look at least the women's basketball calendar, Division I women's, all divisions of collegiate women's basketball. The season ends, jobs change hands, the portal opens, AU starts, all between, let's just say,
2 weeks.
March 3rd and April 16th. Like, that all is happening. And so there's a lot of many emotional decisions that are made. So one theme I feel that I'm consistent in talking about is hiring for the long game. Yes, we all know, and this, I'm not saying anything brand new, but coaches can bring kids. Absolutely. And so there's an immediacy, and there's a pace that needs to happen. And also, just like a kid that you play against once a year could maybe hurt you one game a year, two if they're in your conference and you play them twice. But in your locker room, they could hurt you for 365 days because of character, because of work ethic, because of whatever your standards are in your program that they don't meet. And so again, it comes back to, like, let's take a breath. I understand you want another person making phone calls right now, but you're not going to lose 10 kids because you have one less person. You could hurt yourself by having the wrong person bring in 10 kids. So I think that's a conversation that happens with regularity in terms of take a breath. I know the portal makes things very, very crazy, but take a breath, and let's, even if I'm not involved in their hiring, let's make a list of names. Let's make a list of questions. Let's go about this in a intentional fashion versus, they were good enough for that person over there, I'm sure they're good enough for me.
Right.
And we know that happens.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that.
Yeah. With with regards to that, with the transfer portal, like this is a little bit of an opinion. Do you think a lot more of that is happening because of the lack of leadership from the top on down and the understanding of the values of the program, or bringing kids in for the wrong reason? Or do you think that this is more of the kids' issue and they're like not understanding what it's like at this level and chasing dreams of grandeur and illusion?
Do we have 7 hours for this conversation, or
30 seconds? Let's go. Shot clock.
Lightning round.
My honest heart of hearts belief is that every situation is different. And yes, there are the kids that are having a challenging experience that the coach is out to get them, and they do need a fresh start. There are the situations where the kids are completely happy, and the entourage, the mom and dad, the agent, the auntie in the stands are unhappy, and the kid doesn't know how to have that conversation and therefore bails. There are the situations that somebody's in their ear, hey, we got more money over here, let's pull you over there. I mean, are there 365 different scenarios? Maybe not, but there's certainly 150 different scenarios that I know I can't change. I'm well below that pay grade or that level, but I can, through coaching, help coaches experience that differently, manage some of those conversations within the staff, get to the point before the transfer portal opens, so you know what you're dealing with. And we're having professional conversations, even if they're 19 years old. There's a way to prepare and handle it, rather than letting the portal, the job cycle, AU recruiting, all of that just eat you up and spit you out. And then you're somewhere down the road going, how did I get here?
And I think that, like, the theme of this conversation's be a lot about just the emotion, right? Like, sports is emotional. That's, kind of some of the best parts about it is the emotion you put into it. We thrive for that. But I think there's this unspoken emotion that gets missed, where coaches do have an emotional ties to their players, that sometimes we do a bad job of letting our players know how much we actually care about them, how much work and thought we put into bringing them on campus and the specific piece of the puzzle we hope that they would feel in our program. And so when this idea of them leaving and transferring, it creates even more emotions and a very emotional situation that I think is, with the college coaches I'm speaking with, getting harder to navigate because they care so much about these players. They've invested a lot of emotion into their learning how to transition to college. I think most college kids go through major life events, whether it's someone they know passes away or they're figuring out who they are. So I think it's something that I feel more and more coaches are struggling with of how do we handle our emotions in a very emotional situation when a lot of times we really care about these young people.
Yeah. You bring up a conversation I had with an older GA, meaning this young lady had played overseas for like 10 or 12 years, so she's not the 24-year-old GA. She's the 32-year-old GA or something like that. And she's like, I don't know a lot about coaching. I don't even know if this is the industry I want to be in, but she could articulate how much value she's bringing to her coaching staff because she'd been a pro overseas for so many years, where players sign with new teams before the season's over. They're playing against their old teammates from last year in the finals this year, and how just the environment of that is the norm. Everybody knows how to operate in it. There isn't this unnecessary catty emotional component to it. It's done in a professional way. And I just sat back listening to this GA, this adult, being like, wow, you are bringing a completely different lens and a completely different perspective. You don't know how to unlock your rec center's gym door. You're right. You don't know how to even sign in synergy. But what you are giving your staff is so unique and so beneficial to today's climate. It was just very... I was learning from her, and I was supposed to be interviewing her. But just to your point of the emotions and how she and others in that role who've had that overseas experience, that professional experience, the value that they can bring back. And you don't have to have played. Maybe you were a coach in the W, or you've been in that professional environment, and you're able to pour in your heart and give, and also see and take a step back when you're operating and making decisions and seeing it from, whether you want to call it a business perspective, a professional perspective, whatever term you need to use to separate yourself.
Yeah. Where are you adding value? Where, beyond the perceived job description is also a really good one. If for all our new coaches out there, what's one piece of advice you wish you had been given as you started out? Or what piece of advice would you give a new coach today?
I felt that because of the 7 years I had with Coquise Washington she was the head coach at Penn State when I was an assistant, I felt as prepared as you could be. I mean, you can never be prepared. Like I said, the one thing I hadn't really been involved in was budgeting, but okay. I felt ready. As ready as you're ever going to be. One piece that I learned or heard through that was year one might be great. Maybe year two's your struggle. Maybe year one's your struggle and year two gets better, and being willing to kind of accept either and not force. But in the work, so one of the programs that I do run on an individual coaching basis is called the Rookie Head Coaches Program. Specifically working with first and second year head coaches in the things that come at them. Sometimes they can't take it up the chain because their boss just hired them, expecting them to know this. Or perhaps they can't take it down the chain because of the age or the experience level of some of their assistants, that it's just maybe not quite appropriate, whatnot. Where are they going to ask the questions, to practice, to test drive the idea, how are you going to have that conversation? And so that rookie head coach, that first or second year head coach, I think there's so much to be gained there. And also the perspective of, yes, the expectation is that you win. But right now, you have to do it your way. And I think we all see, and I'm sure you could both name, oh, they're trying to act like so-and-so. Oh, they are I can tell what coaching tree they came from. And although it's great to have mentors and to know what's successful for others, those first year or 2 years, be willing to figure out how you manage it. How hyped up are you? Do you sit? Do you stand? How do you interact with the media? Do you go and hold conversations with your admin and your direct report? Do you expect them to come to, like, you figure out what works for you. And I think that goes back to one thing I would tell kids when we were recruiting them and they would go try out for USA basketball events. It was like, hey, just go be the best you. Because the minute you try to be somebody else, you're going to stink. They're not going to pick you. But when you go be the very best you, and if that's rebounding, be a rebounder. Yes, they want scorers and screeners, but at the end of the day, you can turn heads because you do what you do really, really well. And I think the same can be said for young coaches. Like, you have to do you. So if you are a quiet, sit down on the bench type of a coach, be that person. Because that's where you feel most comfortable. And I think that's very simplistic, but coaches get wrapped up in, oh, the AD is really interactive with so-and-so because they're walking by his office every day. If that's not who you are, it's going to feel like a very strained interaction, and that's not beneficial.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So
Love that.
I would step into who you are.
Love it. So powerful. Thank you.
Yeah.
So to close things out, we are starting a new segment on Sideline Ascent. It is a rapid fire with short answers and honest reflections. All right, Maren, you ready?
My number one here is this.
You're number
This
one.
is first.
You're crushing it already, so
Great.
this is
Okay.
appropriate. All
Here we
right,
go.
what mindset are you actively working on right now?
Belief.
Oh, love that.
Love that.
What habit has genuinely made you a better coach on the sideline or in the chair?
I'm going to pivot that to being a business owner, and I'm going to say drinking water.
Excellent. Excellent.
I know
Yes.
that's not maybe what anybody wants to hear, but guzzling a whole water before I do much more in the morning.
Sometimes the best stuff's simple. What does it mean to be a coach right now in this moment?
Managing young people. Yes, leading them, but also managing them. And there's a difference, and then both is needed. I feel like in sports, we get a lot of leadership, guide, yes, and also manage. You have to be able to manage young people.
Love that.
Or they're going to step off that kitchen
Matt.
They're going to step, if they don't manage it, they're going to go crazy.
Yep.
Love that. Those are awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Maren, this has been great. I'm sure you've got the rest of your day booked with more coaches to hear wisdom from you. And we'll have to make this a repeat segment because I think we only touched the tip of the iceberg.
Well, thank you very much, guys, both of you. Always a pleasure. I love being able to share and talk and support coaches. At the end of the day, I was one of them. Like I said, the stress is high, the runway's short. Where and how can we all support and help them?
And if anybody listening wanted to get in touch with you or wanted to work with you, how would they do that?
MarenWalseth.com. I'm sure you'll put it in the show notes.
We'll put it in the show notes.
My name on Instagram. There's programs for rookie head coaches, first-year head coaches, recruiting coordinators, director of ops individuals. Lots of support.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on Sideline Ascent.
Be sure to like and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts on Spotify or Apple Music so you never miss an episode.
And stay connected with us on YouTube and Instagram. We love hearing what messages resonated with you or who you'd like to hear from next.
If this conversation hit home for you, share it with somebody who appreciates it, a friend, a teammate, or a coach.
Do we need...